Doodlebud here today with a very highly requested review. This is the PENBBS 355. The reason this was requested is it's essentially a poor man's bulk filler pen. I reviewed a Conid bulk filler, the minimalist pen. You can check that review if you want to. I'll leave a link in the description. And it's a very expensive pen. A lot of people mentioned this one to me, the PENBBS 355. So I thought, let's give this thing a look. This pen was provided to me for review by 365 Days Stationery. They have a store on Aliexpress, whether it's this one or other stuff you're thinking of. I'll have a link down there below to check out their store. They've been really kind to provide lots of stuff for me to review and share with everybody so they can sort of check things out before they buy. So that'd be kind of nice if you checked out their store to support them as well. But let's get into all the details. Here you got the number size 6 nib. And it's got the PENBBS information on there too. This one is a fine point nib. It's a decent pen overall. Again, I don't know why. Just for whatever reason, there wasn't any other pens that really interested me too much. But the big thing with this one is the filling mechanism. So we'll get to that in a moment. It's currently inked. I'll do a writing sample, and at the end, we'll do a volume test to see how much this carries and show you how you take it apart, clean it, all that sort of good stuff. But overall, the pen's performing quite well. I did have a dry nib. I'll talk about that in a second, but now it's writing wonderfully. But here you go. It's an acrylic body. This is a pink color, and it's got some little gold flecks that are in there. Not my personal favorite for color schemes, but whatever. It looks good, and for some people, they'll absolutely love it. Clip on here. It's nice. The springiness, I think, is decent. It's firm, but it's not insane. So decent clip. I think the springiness is good. You got the cap band, as you can see on there, and it's got the model number on the back. Some pens don't have that, and it can be tough to remember. So at least they have that model number that's on there. As far as taking the cap off, it's fairly quick. It's standard, 1 3/4 turns. So having something 1 to 2 turns, I'm always happy with that. Nothing too excessive. There it is in the hand. As far as posting, this isn't going to be the best posting pen you have. It goes on there. You got to press it on, and it does post, but now it's super duper long. If you hold it way back, you'll be okay. But it's on there. I don't think it's really designed to be a posting pen. That's okay though. It's decent size. I'll give you dimensions and size comparison in a moment. For my hand, it fits just fine, and I actually prefer it unposted. It does back weight it just because you got some metal bits and kind of thicker acrylic here at the end. A few things folks usually like to know is how is the section. I find it's quite comfortable. The threads are here. They don't interrupt your grip, no matter if you like to grip right where they are. The edge is a little bit crisp. You could break that yourself. I'd like to see if they just had a little bit more of a chamfer on that edge coming off the machining. That would make it just a touch better. But you can see it's a little bit crispy. It's not sharp or anything, but a little bit smoothed out would feel nicer. Other than that, everything as far as comfort wise and everything is quite good. I'll show you the pen it reminds me of right here. This is my Peter Draws Narwhal pen. You can feel a difference in the hand right away, and it could just be the polishing. I think the wall thickness on this is a little bit more as well, but you can see, they're very close to each other, and I quite like this Narwhal pen. So I like this one as well. I do like the feel of the Narwhal over this one, but it's pretty good, and the filling system you're getting for this price point, I don't know where else you can get a filling system like this one has. Now, speaking of filling system, I can already see the comments before this video is up on how they're stealing it from Conid. Now, there's nothing new really under the sun when it comes to mechanical design, and on the screen right now I'm showing you a patent from 1898 with a filling system just like what this pen has and what Conid has. Now, I'm not saying either one of them are ripping them off or anything like that, but having a piston that you can engage and disengage, like those types of problems have been solved in many other industries and applications, and also even on fountain pens. So before we start pointing fingers, this type of mechanism and design has been around for well over a century. I'll do a size comparison, then physical dimensions. So Lamy Safari, Asfine V200, Narwhal Peter Draws pen. Here is the PENBBS 355, and then a Hongdian C1. And here we are, caps off. I'm not going to do posted because it doesn't post, that doesn't post, this posts terribly. So there we go. Good size, and as I said, it is extremely close to the Narwhal pen. I'll give you the weight here, and again, this is fully loaded, so let's call it 30.5 grams. I am curious, now this will be lighter, just because there isn't any ink in it. And we're almost the same, so that's quite interesting. And this actually, I think these bits are probably a little bit heavier. For some reason, the narwhal feels almost a little heavier in the hand, but I think it could just be the texture on the acrylic. For some reason, it is a lot smoother. The cap is about 12 grams, and now we're leaving about 18.5 in the body. And now the dimensions are as follows. So overall the pen is about 147. The pen itself is about 130.8 millimeters. The cap is about 14.5 millimeters in diameter. The pen's about 13.2. The section starts at about 11.3 millimeters just below the threads, tapering down to about 9.6 or 9.7. And the section below the threads and before that little flare at the end is about 19.5 millimeters long. So if I think about the dimensions of this pen, the weight, the size of the section, just all that type of stuff, I think this pen will fit a lot of hands quite comfortably. The pen seals nicely in the cap by the end of the section, coming up against a little step that's inside the cap. I've had zero issues with nib dry out. I even let it sit for a few weeks, no issues whatsoever. I'll do a writing sample with the pen right now. I'll talk about the tine adjustment I had to do right afterwards. And then I'll take it all apart, clean it out, show you the bits, and talk about the filling system. The ink I am using, because I'm going to remember right now, I usually forget, but this is Carcos Purple. I'll have a link down below for that ink. Overall, I've been very pleased with the pen. It's worked great. As far as capping and nib dry out, that has not been an issue. Tons of ink capacity. You can see it, comfortable in the hand, all that stuff. The number of issues I've had is one, and that was just the nib was too tight out of the box. I had to open up the tines on this one. I tried, doing a few strokes there, as you've seen either in some of my videos or other people's videos, to try to open the tines. It wasn't quite doing it. I was doing it by hand, and this one actually was a little bit tighter than normal. I could open it up, but it kept going back, so I used a little nib block that I made recently. Now you can check some of my other videos on how to adjust nibs. In fact, I'll have a link down in the description, so if you have a nib that's too wet or too dry, like in this case, I'll show you how to do that. But this is something I've been playing with recently, and I use this to actually do an adjustment on the nib, and it seemed a little safer than normal. As I would take the nib out, put it on here, and the way I printed it, there's these little islands on here. They are defects in the print, and I printed it a few different ways to get rid of it, but then I came back to this one because it's actually quite nice. I can put the nib on here. I'll do a separate video on this in due time, showing how to use one of these. Ideally, at some point, maybe I can have this available, quite affordable for people to use for nib adjustment. But I could put the nib on here, and I just would watch it and just apply downward pressure. I didn't have to do anything other than that. And I would hold it there for 10-15 seconds, and all of a sudden now the nib was perfectly tuned. So I'm playing around with this one. This is also another thing I'm going to be sending out to some of the super fans of the channel. I'll have a little link down below on that as well if you want to support the channel. There's memberships, you can look into that and possibly participate in some of my fun little sort of R&D and product development projects as well. What I'm going to do now is clean out the pen. So you simply unscrew the rod. You're going to pull it back up. You can't really see what's going on because, well, it's full of ink. And so now what I did is the rod was down here. It came up, engaged into the piston, and we're just going to press this down, and there goes all the ink. So we'll put that in here, go into the water, draw it up, and there you go. And so this is what's kind of nice about this type of filling system, this bulk filler style system, is you can quickly clean out a pen without having to take it apart. Now what you can also do is unscrew the section. I'll show that in just a moment. But you can see none of this twisting and going back and forth, or with the vac filler, we need to press it, yes, but then all the ink blows past there. So you can just do this several times and you get the pen pretty clean pretty quick. So that's all it took to clean out the pen. What I'm going to do now is I'll weigh it when it's empty. I'll drop some water. We'll check the full weight of the pen. I'll flush that out, and then I'll take this whole thing apart and show you the little bits. Pen is all cleared out. Let's check the ink capacity. So let me just hit tear right there. All right, and now I'll show you how you fill the pen. So when you first get it, it'll be in this configuration. Again, you back off this knob here on the back. It sort of reminds you of a vac filler pen. You pull it back. I'll show you the threads there in a minute. And you unscrew the knob again. So now this little rod here is screwing into the piston and you're fully engaged. Now the piston can move freely up and down in the pen. So you put it into your ink, this case water. You're going to drive out your air and pull back your ink. I'll just do it one more time. Pull it back again. Now if you really want, you can turn the piston here a little bit just to engage it fully back while it's still in the ink to get that last little bit of a fill, and that's probably maybe an extra 0.1 milliliters, something like that. So now you're all good and you're wondering, okay, how do I do this now? So you got to make sure again that's all the way back. You're going to turn the piston knob clockwise now. You're tightening it down. They do recommend put it back over top of your bottle or have a little tissue or something like that and drive the piston down. You can see a couple drops of ink will come out of the pen. Screw it down and now you have yourself a full fill. So let's see, how much did we get? About 2.5 milliliters. That's what I was getting when I was doing this as well. So 2.5 mil in this pen, and it's also quite easy to clean. The pen comes apart quite easily. You just unscrew the section here, and then you can fully disassemble everything as well. When you normally clean the pen, if you just drive the piston up and down, the pen flushes quite nice, but you'll have a teeny little bit of ink in here or ink in here that you can't seem to get out. What you can do is you can just unscrew the whole nib housing to disassemble that. That way any last little bits of ink will come out of there. You can pull out the nib and feed as well. So if you really want to do that or swap nibs around, whatever you're looking to do, and then just reassemble the pen. Let me show you one little potential issue with the pen. This doesn't happen very often. I'll show you how to fix it if it does. When you pull the rod back, you're engaged, or the rod is engaged to the piston, you pull it back. I'm going to take this out in a moment to show you the details, but you have these little kind of spikes that are on the side, and you're going to rotate it to go into the notches they fit into. Now, if you decide to turn this pen a little bit more, what you can do is end up unscrewing that whole mechanism. So if that happens, what you have to do is just turn the other way. It's okay. And then just, might be able to do it by hand, or you get like a little wrench that's on there. I can't remember if the Twisby wrench fits on there. I'll check that in a second. But then just snug this down a little bit more. And yeah, once you engage the piston, no need to undo it anymore. So that's one little thing I noticed with the pen. And that's how you can also actually take this whole assembly out. So you have a piston that's here. There's a few O-rings on the side to provide the seal so you're not getting ink in behind it. And then there is, focus here, there we go. There's a seal down below. What that does, like on a regular vac filler, is it seals off the upper ink reservoir to the lower part. So you can essentially shut off the ink system so it doesn't flow out. If you're flying or just traveling, something like that, you don't want an ink burp, which can happen if you have a lot of air in here and it heats up and expands, ink can come out. So it acts as a shut off. When you are operating the pen, and let's say it starts to run dry, what you're going to have to do is just open this up a little bit so this gasket, this O-ring, disengages from there to allow more ink to flow into the lower section. But you can see the mechanism is it's quite simple. You just have a little hook loop mechanism, not too dissimilar to what I have in my Visconti Homo sapiens. This type of system I've seen many times on other places, not just on pens. A little machine bit here, you can see the machine marks on it, and that just fits right into this, let's call it a clasp. So it's fairly straightforward, nothing too crazy, but it works quite well. It's quite effective. The bulk filler that you see on the Conid is a little more elegant on how they do it. Of course, it is infinitely more expensive, but everything goes together quite well, and I really don't have any issues. Just don't over unscrew the mechanism when this is engaged into there. How they put it together is, again, it's quite simple. You're not really hiding everything on the Conid version. They have a set screw that goes in there. Here they just pin it. So you got your rod, you got a hole, it slides up. There'll probably be some little fixture for assembly, and they just slip in a little pin, and now that's locked into place. So very economical way to do this type of filling system. I quickly tried my TWSBI Eco Wrench. It did not fit across those flat spots. This one is just a little bit wider. So let's call it 7.7 millimeters wide across the flat. So different wrench, or if you just have a small little adjustable one, you can use it on there, put everything back together. Now what you could also do, let's say you clean this thing fully out, just a teeny little dab of grease on those O-rings. That's really the only servicing you need to do to this pen. I might as well show you, if you are taking this pen apart, there are some other O-rings to be mindful of. So if you unscrew the whole nib unit from the section, there's a little O-ring that's there. So don't lose that one. And also here at the back of the section where that screws into the pen body right here too. I'm just going to use my fingers, just get a little bit on the ends, and I'll just rub it around on that O-ring, on this one here as well. And then same with on the piston. You don't want to overdo it. You just put a little bit there, and that's about all you need. So now when you put everything back together, nothing's overly greasy, but the parts are going to fit nicely together, and they're going to last a long time. Nothing's going to get chafing or anything at all, and the piston is going to be nice and smooth. Actually, I'll do just a touch more on that piston. There we go. That should be perfect. So we'll have a nice smooth operation of the piston mechanism. And also it doesn't mix in with the ink. So here you can just do it by hand. I'll just thread that into there. I don't have any issues with these metal threads in the acrylic body. There we go there. I'm not going to over tighten it because there is a collar, so there's a stop. Your piston's there, just drive her up and down a few times. It's nice and smooth. Disengage the piston. There you go. Rod goes down, snug it up. Pen is all back together, clean, ready to go. And there you have it. Overall impressions of this PENBBS 355 are pretty good. A very affordable way to get a bulk filler style mechanism in a pen, and the pen's decent. Nothing mind-blowing, revolutionary as far as design or materials or anything else like that. But there's that filling mechanism, and it is quite nice. I enjoy it now that I've gotten to use it a couple times, whether it's this one or the one off of Conid. I like how it works and operates. I find it fairly simple. Some people think it might be a little over-engineered or complex. Like I said, it's been around since the late 1800s, so I think it's pretty neat as well. But there we have it. If you've enjoyed the video, drop a comment, hit a thumbs up, hit subscribe. Besides subscribe, there's a button that says join. There's also your channel membership levels and tiers. If you want to learn more about that, in the description, I'll have info too. I'll catch you next time.